Jason Demers, the former NHLer turned NHL Network analyst, joins us on the show for his weekly appearance. And yeah, look, he's got the eyebrows moving around. You fired up for this hockey game tonight, Jay?
We better be. We better play more than just 20 minutes of good hockey, because be going home early. That's for sure. But yeah, I'm feeling good. I think a good response tonight.
Yeah, and I think it will be too. This is an Oilers team. I mean, that's the first time all playoffs they've lost back-to-back games. I think they're going to bounce back really well. But I want to circle back to Game 3 before we look ahead a little bit. And I asked Luke Gazdick this question yesterday. I'm curious for your perspective on it. Obviously, the defining point of Game 3 was that 12-minute stretch coming out of the second period where the Stars just hammered the Oilers. Where are you at in the magical meter of the Oilers blew it, the Stars just pushed it and became too much to handle? Who are you giving more of the credit to, I guess, here? Was it the Oilers blowing it, or should we be giving the Stars more love?
Well, they've proven it in every first period of this series that they can outskate and outplay the Dallas Stars when they're going. And when they're playing a good, solid defensive structure, the D are getting up. They're not backing off. And it just happened last two games. They let off the gas, and Dallas doesn't need much to get going. So, and I thought the scary thing is Robertson's been cold all playoffs. And if that sparks him, he's a guy you don't want to let get hot. You don't want to let get hot who hasn't been hot. So I just thought it was a lot of mental lapses defensively. You know, the one where Vinny, it's right at the edge of the blue line. Jamie Benn's pressing on him. You got to make sure that gets out of the zone. I love the kid. He's been great all year, but he doesn't get it out. Jamie Benn rounds the net, and then everybody over back checks and forgets about the most important guy, which is Wyatt Johnston, who's just sitting on the back post. So that's an easy goal to let in. The Robertson one on his backhand where he shoots it and somehow gets a rebound, and there's five guys. We were talking about it on Stanley Cup Central. There's five guys in the slot in the blue paint just outside for the Oilers, and nobody could get a stick on that puck to clear it. That's more defensive lapse than anything. And then obviously that outside dot shot by Robertson is they don't clear the puck. There's a nice cycle play, and then Evan and Bush is right in front of Skinner's eyes. He's got to get out of the way, let Skinner see that, and get aggressive, because it is a nice shot, but Skinner should be able to get up a little bit higher. And I think Bush just being right in front of his eyes, it just affects him. And then we don't even need to talk about the fourth goal, because I think that was partly on Skinner, but I do think it's a very wily play by Jason Robertson that not many guys could pull off. So a lot of mental mistakes that happened, and then it's hard to chase the game and play in tight games against Dallas. They're so comfortable in those positions. And the one thing is they'll just keep rolling their four lines. They don't care what happens. They stay within their structure. They get tighter as the game goes on. So after the Oilers have these good pushes in the first period, they have to stay disciplined. They can't do what they did against Vancouver and park the bus when they're up, because it doesn't work, because Dallas will find a way to just kind of clamp down on you. They have to stay aggressive, stay up. The D have to stay up. And I just thought they got a little bit complacent and defensively not marking their guys. And it wasn't just depth guys. It was the top guys. They weren't defending the right way. And as a D-core, I thought they really missed on a lot of opportunities. And they don't need many, especially the way Ottinger's playing, to kind of get a lead and hold it.
I've got a random question. I don't even know if you can answer it, but I have to ask you because you played the game, and
I'll try.
And you've been on teams that have gone through the exact same thing. How can you play such an aggressive and shot of a cannon style of hockey in the first period, and then move into the second period and be that flat? Like, what is going on to cause that? And I know it's a weird loaded question, but like, you've experienced this. Like, how does the tide change so drastically?
Well, it's to a man, it's mentally, it's on everybody. It's not just on the players. The coaching staff needs to make sure that they're identifying who's going in those first periods, and then also in the second, who's laying their foot off the gas and adjusting accordingly. I think Knobloch, and he's been, all the credit to him, he's been masterful all playoffs. but I feel like he might be overthinking it at times in this round against Dallas now that it's ramped up and trying to get certain matchups. And I think he's just got to just roll after the first period, stay with it, and make sure that if guys aren't going in the second, listen, you can't wait around in this playoff series. If you're not coming out hard in the second, you just can't go. And we're going to roll with the guys that are going, and then you'll get chances to get back in. But it's also internally, like in the room, guys, they're feeling good after the first. You have to make sure that you're locked in. You should immediately go to 0-0 in your head. You got to win that next period because Dallas is one of those teams that, like, they can score in bunches. They've proven it. They're resilient. They're never out of a fight no matter what, and they don't panic. So you can see a little bit of panic creep into the game of Edmonton and none in the side of Dallas. So it's just telling guys when you get in the room, listen, take a deep breath, reset. We had a great period, but now we got to get back on our horse and we got to make sure we're on our toes because they've had, obviously Ottinger in game 2 was incredible and kept them in there in the first, but they got to him in the first period of last game. They just they had them down and they just needed to keep them down. And I thought they just let their game slip defensively. And that typically their game slips defensively when the D aren't breaking the puck out clean enough and getting it out of the zone because everybody just starts sitting back and it snowballs, man. And the crazy thing about momentum in the NHL, it's such a fickle thing, but bad shifts are contagious. I was once told by a coach that was much smarter than me. He just said every bad shift and bad habits are contagious on a team. When one guy does it, if the next line doesn't address it and say we need a simple shift, they then catch a cold and then it goes to the third and fourth line and then everybody's playing the wrong way. You have to recognize it early. And as a line, you have to look at each other or as a decor and go, we need to play so simple here to just break the cycle of turnovers, bad habits, and make sure that we either go out, get a big hit, get a big shot on net, or get a great big defensive play to kind of spark everybody and reset them because it's just contagious and you end up catching a cold, and it's happened the last 2 games for the Oilers.
So on the blue line, you mentioned that almost every goal, if you go watch the replay, 20 seconds, and that 20 seconds before the goal scored, the Oilers had a chance to get the puck out. So to address that, what do? Take out probably your worst puck mover and puck transporter in Vinny, and you put in Philip Broberg, a guy who can move the puck pretty well, but he hasn't played in 40-some odd days, and you're throwing him into a Stanley Cup final game. Did you ever have anything like that in your career where maybe not you, but like you had that your partner, someone else on the blue line, like hadn't played in 2 months and they get thrown into the playoffs? And maybe what's that like in the room? Does it maybe like jolt everyone and be like, all right, like we got to help this guy out a little bit and all that?
Well, it's opportunity, right? So as to Broberg's point, listen, you've grinded the last 2 years in this organization and possibly didn't have a fair shake because of contracts and how it looks up. And you're the odd man out being a lefty on that left side. And Edmonton's really, unfortunately, I think they're loyal to a lot of their vets more than they need to be, certain guys. So, but he's got an opportunity. So if I'm him, seize it. Listen, you probably have complained and been upset all year and wanted a chance. You're getting it. Obviously, it's not the best timing in terms of it's high stakes, but this is a moment where he could basically just insert himself into the lineup and guarantee himself a spot next year. So for him, it's going to be that. For the players in the room, I think you got to know, Vinny's played great all year. And I thought it's not all his fault getting pulled out. I don't think it's just him. I think the decor as a whole had a really bad game on game 3 and from the second period on. So, but he's the odd man out for Broby. Broby just needs to move the puck, trust his skating, and you can't be scared of the moment. This is a team that a guy like him can thrive against and play well against because he's got a good stick and he's got to make sure he's got good gaps. Don't back up and don't be afraid. I think they're going to play him. He's not coming to like an 11-7 situation. He's going to play 15 minutes. Make sure you own up to it. And obviously just be good in your own end. The better you are defensively, you're going to get more opportunities and gain more trust from the coach. So make sure you're good there and just trust his strengths. So he's got a lot of them, to your point. He's just got to get out of his own way. So, and as you know, if you're Kulak, you're probably, fired up to help him out. There's going to be a lot of communication between both of them, I'm sure. Kulak's going to kind of give him a lay of the land in terms of what he's seeing out there is what I would have do, and just tell him, hey, let's keep it simple early. But if I'm Kulak, I'm looking at Broby going, when you can go, and I'll cover for you early on. If I have to play a 2-on-1 or 2, I can do it, but make sure you're just going. If you can jump in the offense, go, just to get yourself into the game and get yourself engaged.
Darnell Nurse is arguably the most popular man in Edmonton right now.
Well, not for a good
I was going
reason.
to say, for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
But what does Nurse need to do to get his game back on track here and be not? We said it before. We don't even need him to be the $9 million defenseman. We just need him to be good.
Yeah, he just needs to. Man, it's tough because I never like coming on and just ragging on somebody. I do love what Connor McDavid did in the media. I think that's a true leader, taking that question for whoever asked it and making sure he addressed it. But also putting the onus on Darnell to we need a big game out of him. Listen, if he has a bad game, they're probably going to lose.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, they just don't have a let's say a D depth that other teams might have. They need him to be great defensively. I know his plus minus it's a funny stat, but still being minus 12 or 13 when only you and Fogle are in the double digits. It's not a great look. He needs to kind of, I just see a little bit of, like I said, complacency. Like at the blue line, he's a little bit not playing his game. I don't know if he's trying to play too simple, but Darnell is good when he's jumping in the rush. I do think he can do that when he's doing that smartly, and he just needs to play physical. He's a big guy. He's so strong. I did a ton of one-on-one battles with him in training camp. He is an absolute beast when he wants to be. So just go be mean a little bit. Go rough up. He's probably going to get Robertson. He's going to get those guys again. Listen, Robertson is soft as marshmallow candy of whatever. Like you could push him out. He's not, everything I've heard about him from guys, like he's a really highly competitive guy, but he's weighs $160, $170. If I'm him and I'm Nursey, I'm targeting him every shift I'm on the ice. Make it, I heard you guys talk about it before that it's patty cake out there. You won't necessarily push them out of the series because they are very resilient, but there's a lot of light guys in that forward group that you should be running over every chance you get and making it tough for them. Vegas did it, took him to 7, but, I thought Vegas really beat him up good, and then Colorado kind of let him off the hook and allowed them to, get out of that series and recover. They got some banged up guys up front there. If I'm Nursey, I'm targeting him every shift, get myself in the game, hit him. If Jamie Benn comes after me, well, listen, fight him, take him out of the game. He's been their best player. He's been their catalyst. Got to find a way to disrupt him because he's causing havoc all over the ice, and he's one of those guys that can take over a game. So if I'm Nursey, that's my job going in. It's just play as physical as possible, staying within myself. And if I have a chance to kind of hurt some of their smaller guys, I'm taking a run at it. And if Jamie Benn comes out and you wake him up, well, there's nothing wrong with fighting him. He can fight him and go into the box. And now you just neutralize probably their biggest offensive catalyst right now.
When we were walking out of the arena in Dallas, we had a real mouthy Stars fan who was yelling at us, being like, best road team in the NHL. We're winning the next 2. And he was really giving it to us. But you look into the numbers, they are 4-5 at home in the playoffs and
6-1
on the road. I love the film breakdowns that you've been doing on NHL Network. So can you break down why the Dallas Stars are so unbeatable on the road?
Well, you've been watching those. I appreciate that.
I was watching from the airport in Vancouver. I was having a couple of beers and you were on the TV.
Which one were you watching? Which breakdown was they doing?
That one you were focusing on Panthers Rangers, though.
Oh, yeah, just the mistakes.
Yeah.
Listen, when you got a guy like Pete DeBoer who's so calm, and I've talked about this with Knobloch as well. Knobloch has been, for the most part, very calm, and that's why this Edmonton team has been a different animal than recent years. It starts behind you, and DeBoer is so calm. He keeps rolling his four lines, if you look at the numbers, they trust their depth, just like Edmonton trusted their depth. And to be honest, like you look at this series and, they're down 2-1. Dallas is 6-1 on the road, but they've been in every game they've played. And it's more on Edmonton than it is on Dallas, the reason they're down. Like Edmonton's taking the foot off the gas. They've shown they can dominate them. But then what happens is you have to know with Dallas that they're never going to change their game and they're going to keep playing the same exact way. So if you think you got to beat 2-0, you just have to keep going. You can't stop because they just wait. And they're very good at stretching the zone. They always have a guy that blows the zone, and then they're essentially finding him and getting separation from that defenseman on the Oilers. It's happened a ton. That's how they're generating offense. And then their second and third wave is slow. That's how they kind of get you because they're good skating teams. So whoever's that D-man that's following out with that forward that's pushing out of the zone, he needs to be on top of them and make sure that puck's either turned over. And that's a scary part because you're all by yourself in the neutral zone. And you really have to make sure that you don't give that guy any separation. And then conversely, they're good when they're getting on the forecheck. They have to get onto those Dallas defensemen and make sure that when they're moving the puck, that they're not getting by them because they get you with the second and the third wave. So it seems like a lot, but it's really just starting with their forecheck through the neutral zone and also their forecheck when they're starting out. It's all part of your forecheck. It's just that's what's sparking their offense. Edmonton's good when they kind of slow it down on the forecheck. They get those big bodies in. And I just think the first period, all those goals Oilers scored was off the forecheck. They're getting bodies, they're putting them into the glass and then cycling pucks. And then what happened is they've lost their forecheck a little bit. Dallas was able to spread the zone out and spread out the neutral zone. So push back that Oilers defenseman. They got to make sure that Oilers defenseman doesn't get beat by that one guy. He doesn't allow that stretch pass. Even if you allow it to get tipped into Skinner, that's fine. But don't allow it to stay in the neutral zone and allow that guy to make a play underneath because that's when you get in a lot of trouble. And that's what's kind of been happening with them. And then obviously, listen, you said it and I said it. When you have a chance to get the puck out of the zone on this team, you got to get it out. It's just the way it is because they're coming and putting it right back down your throat. So
has anything through these, and this is the last one for you, has anything through these first three games changed your opinion on this series at all? Like, I'll be honest, I came into this being like, even if the Oilers play their best, Dallas might be able to beat them. And even though they're down 2-1, I'm now sitting here going, whoa, if the Oilers bring their A game, they can beat this Dallas team. And I know that's maybe a weird spot to kind of be in, considering, again, they blew the lead. They were terrible in the second period and all that. But I'm still sitting here, and I think you and I have had this conversation as well. This Stars team is beatable for the Oilers. If they bring their A game, 100%. They can beat them, right? I'm not crazy, am I?
No, you are crazy, but not for this point. You're good, but you're good on this. No, listen, they can do it. I think Skinner's played, other than that one goal, I thought he's played really well. Listen, I can give him his flowers. I thought he's played really well. Ottinger's been that much better. And Ottinger is absolutely insane on the road. You have to find a way to get to him. And you saw how they get to him in front of the net, make it real ugly. If Connor can get to the net and out battle guys, there's not a guy in that fucking locker room that should be like, well, we can't get to the net also. Like Connor also scored a goal he doesn't typically score, and he won that battle against Seguin. You can push these guys around. You're bigger than them, so you have to get to the net and make it ugly, make them defend you, and get pucks to the net. And it's a possibility. Listen, they can. I think this series is going 7. I'm still confident in that. I think game 7 will be a toss-up, but I do think they can get to 7. And I actually was more optimistic. I was less optimistic at the start of the series. I honestly thought Dallas was going to walk over them, and it hasn't been the case. I just think Edmonton has stopped playing at certain points. So I expect a big game from them tonight. I think they do bounce back. It's 2-2, and then from there it gets real interesting. So, but they just got to kind of get. And the other thing they need to get going is I don't think I would ever be saying this in my life, but their power play.
Oh, one for their last 12. What are we doing?
One for their last 15 in their last 6 games or something like that. I was counting, and it's the thing is too is they're not getting to their sets. They are getting some looks, but obviously Ottinger's been so good making saves. I mean, he made a huge save in the first, could have been 3-0 on Leon. So they just need to keep at it, but they need to draw more penalties. And draw more penalties is playing the way Connor did on his goal and the way Hyman did on his. Just get to the net, make them hook and grab you, sit inside of there, make them push you maybe into Ottinger, draw a penalty. But they need to make it uglier that like when they was in Vancouver. Like, it's weird. I heard you say before they're playing patty cake. I mean, you're not wrong, but that's the way Dallas kind of gets you in, like, because their decor is very quick and they move the puck fast. But when you're net front, you got to try to get under these guys' skin. You got to get inside of them. You got to make it ugly. Like, they got to basically envision that all those D are Zadorov, and then they'll play great. Like, Kaner's got to get in on these guys and make sure he's roughing them up like they did Quinn Hughes. And I just feel like they're giving him too much respect. Because I do think in the first periods they think they're better than them, and I do think they believe in that room they can beat Dallas. But when the belief gets in a little bit of arrogance, they get in trouble. So they need to just keep their foot on the gas and don't let them get up.
And this is the Perry factor.
Yeah, and Corey Perry draws back in today. So
I don't know how I feel about that because I love his pedigree and what he's done. I don't know if he can move the way that's a lot of foot speed you're losing because Sam Carrick's not the fastest, but I mean, Perry can't move at all right now. And especially if you're playing him 8 minutes a night. So hopefully they play him a little bit more, let him get into it. I do like McLeod coming back in. I think, listen, he doesn't have any points, but he's been fantastic on the PK and even generating chances and generating momentum off the PK. He's worked well with Fogle. So, but Fogle's the odd man out, goes out now. That's kind of one of those things where it's Fogle or McLeod. So I think McLeod has a big game. If he's one of those guys, those X factors, if he can get on the score sheet, I think they win. And hopefully him with Henrique, he'll give Henrique some speed. And I liked what I saw from Henrique last game, but him and Perry in the lineup, it's not the fastest bottom six. So, I wasn't 100% on board with putting Perry in, but listen, Knobloch's made some great adjustments in this playoff, so kind of got to trust it and see if it works out.
All right, Jason, appreciate your time as always, man. Hopefully when we talk again early next week, this series is still rolling.
What's that car back there? What are we looking at?
That's one of the new Ford Mustangs.
What's that MSRP on that thing? What we got there?
I can't read from that far away, so I'll have to text you that one later.
Sweet. Might have to buy that on the side, boys. Come on now.
Get up to E-Town, yeah. All right, thanks, Jason.
See you, boys. Have a good one, all right?
Yeah.
Former NHLer Jason Demers on the Star Mechanical guest line. We got a quick...
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.